It'll come up where they publish it. It'll come up the #1, so people are reading it. So you've given me a platform, and that's why I feel that it's very important for me to bring something worthy of your coming. And the numbers will be what they are. They'll get better. We'll get a speaker or two. And by the way, on the 21st, tentatively, the Friday night of the 21st, we're setting up to have General Paul Valley and Trevor Loudon Skype with us on the screen. Mike's working out the tech details. And it's going to be about the bringing in of Muslims and Islam to this country through the, what is the word I'm looking for?
Refugee resettlement.
What?
Refugee resettlement.
Refugee, that's the word. Asylum. Sometimes, like I said, I don't prepare well enough and wonder about what I'm going to say when I get here, but the refugee asylum program, that's what's going to be talked about, because they are both, Trevor Loudon and Paul Valley. I won't call Trevor an American hero. He is an Australian. But you know what? He's as close to one as I could call a hero without having the American title to it. Because he's putting himself at risk, going around telling things that are very relevant to the existence of this country. And this is one of them. Paul Valley is going to talk about the consequence and what the taxpayer-funded relocation of these asylum folks are. And I'm going to say this, and I don't know if folks on YouTube know this. I think the number is 200 Christian Arabs, Syrians, that have come here asking for asylum are in San Francisco right now. You know what they're doing in San Francisco? They were denounced. They're in jail. Now, 95% of the refugee asylum participants are Islamic and are approved. The Christians over there who are escaping from that radical Islam, with their lives, and they're lucky enough, money enough, somebody cared enough to get them over here, and they're asking for asylum status and they're denied. As a matter of fact, they're housed in San Francisco. Google it, Steve. Okay, Steve's saying something. Yeah? Yeah, and guess why? You can still get it if you Google Ted and Nancy's. Yeah.
It says goodbye.
Yeah, and let me tell you about the goodbye. Yeah, it's a good story, and I love hearing me say it because I was involved in it. It is said to me that over the period of time where they began publishing my weekly broadcast about whatever was on my mind, what we might be talking about that night, the Ted and Nancy's Excellent Adventure. You'll remember I did a thing called The Goose and the Golden Egg, Saudi Arabia, killing the goose that lays our golden egg. Anyway, I was doing a lot of those writings, and what the DLM report is a reposting of op-eds across the country. And they asked me if I would be one of their authors. And of course, that's a drywall guy being asked to be an author. Yeah, all right, that's cool. But I didn't realize that my writings was being posted right along with Bill O'Reilly, Krauthammer, Peggy Noonan, all of those names who are well written and well posted. DLM would repost them, giving proper attribution, and had been doing it for 5 years. And it was okay. I was told that because there was a lot of interest in what I was saying about the military-industrial complex, the corrupt bargain in Saudi Arabia, that well over 70,000 people were reading my stuff every week, and that a large 30% of them was coming to Saudi Arabia. Well, Fox News sued DLM to shut them down. I'm not sure why that is, but I got it figured that the no spin zone didn't like not being able to spin it. Steve?
Yeah, I was going to say, the reason why Fox News did it two sons and more liberals than he is. And so you're going to notice that Fox News is probably going to go down because they're starting to build to the left already.
Steve's saying that Murdoch steered Fox News into a liberal, more moderate position, and the conservative writings of a drywall guy ranting and raving being read wasn't received really well. I was told that, at least. And so I count that as an honor, and I count that as a thank you to you folks for giving me a platform that I've enjoyed. And it's also why I feel the pressure of bringing something to you every Friday night. But they've been shut down legally. But they're going to resurface. They were giving proper attribution. See, that was what the Fox News was saying to DLM, was you're not giving proper attribution. Well, they have for 5 years. You can see it right on the op-ed, Bill O'Reilly, Peggy Noonan, by Trouthammer. It's right there. They're not saying it's written by somebody else. They put my name right there where whatever it is I write. And they asked me if I would write under a pen name because there was some consideration of danger, because so many people in Saudi Arabia were reading it. Well, I think it's not anger that they're feeling when they're reading it. I think they like it that somebody understands what the policy is being formed on here in this country. I think they want that information out there. They're the first ones to know over there that the oil that is in their land is being sold in US dollars by their secular leaders in Saudi Arabia. See, they don't have a religious government like Iran does. And we have dealt with their secular leadership. Okay, and so, Joe, you have a question?
I think Fox News is starting to lose their edge. Because just look at the way, what's her name? Megyn Kelly conducted that. I mean, she was looking for every opportunity to nail Donald Trump and get him on something with a gotcha.
Hang on a minute. Now, I'm going to take a different position. I've heard this a lot. I think Fox News is pro-Jeb Bush all the way. He's the moderate that they want, that Murdoch wants. I agree with Steve. I think that's where Fox News is heading. Megyn Kelly, and this, now, what was the question that she asked people to raise their hands on? You recall what it was?
Well, that was Brett Favre.
Huh?
And,
No, Megyn Kelly asked it. Oh, was it? Brett Favre, okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the question was, Darlene?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to repeat what you say. You was listening to Mark Levin.
On the way here.
On the way here.
And you said Megyn asked a question about Trump. Well, come to find out those words were used in this movie, The Apprentice, and they didn't say that. In other words, they're really hurting Trump. And Megyn was really hurting Trump.
Well, here's what I think they know. I just think they know that Donald Trump is being hired by Bill Clinton. And they don't want the third party involved in here because that was the nature of the question that Brent Bear asked. Will you support the party's choice? And Donald Trump
was the only one that raised his hand.
To say no, he would not if it's not him. They tricked him into that. That's very true. But listen, Donald Trump deserved that because he has said, if the Republican Party doesn't treat me right, I'm going to go third party. He has set that up. Okay? I'm going to be objective about it, but I'm not happy that he has trying to manipulate the party and hold it hostage by saying, you're going to choose me or I'm going to go third party. Ross Perot, remember Ross Perot? That's a heck of a thing to say to this country right at the time when this Pacific Trade Agreement is affecting this country so negatively that we're not even talking about it. Right now we're talking about the love.
I disagree.
Well, you can disagree, that's fine. And okay, now hang on, Joe. Tell me specifically, loudly, what you disagree with.
I disagree with Ross Perot thing because, I look around here and I see, 10 people here, but back in 92, there wasn't these 10 people here. So America is not the same as what it was in 1992. And all of us come together and vote a third party can do that.
So you believe the third party can win? Okay, and so that's a good disagreement, because I will stand in disagreement on here. The third party will never win in this country. The third party will create kings or queens.
So that's your, like I said, you know.
Yeah, and I appreciate the disagreement. Joe, Darlene, I'll get to you.
No. I found it interesting that, you know, with the very first question right out the gate, Donald Trump was the only one that raised his hand.
Because the others would honor the nominee. They were asked that if you would not honor the nominee.
I thought they asked him if he would not run as a third party.
They didn't, no, they didn't. What they said was, whoever will not support the nominee that's elected, raise your hand.
And they knew Donald Trump.
And they knew Donald Trump would raise his hand because he's been talking about third party. And Donald Trump knew that question was coming. Listen, that wasn't something that surprised him. He raised his hand and he stood by it. And that was an open declaration, didn't say it right, of war on the Republican Party. I say the party deserves the challenge, but America doesn't deserve the consequence. And your grandchildren do not. My grandchildren do not deserve that consequence. I'm going to go to Darlene before you do a call. Darlene?
Well, Mark Levin and Wayne Savage, they both think that Fox News is more left now, and I do too. And like today, I think Wayne Savage or Mark Levin said, now like CNN was 5 years ago, and CNN is more like NBC. And I have noticed that they don't give Ed Cruz very much credit.
Did I hear you say that Megyn Kelly and Mark Levin, both of them, are saying that Fox News is
No,
not?
no, no.
Michael Savage, he's
Michael
on
Savage.
during the day, and also Mark Levin, both of them. Feel like they're
Are saying that Fox News is moving to the middle.
And Mark, they're more on the left on this.
Well, in order to get to the middle from where you were with Fox News, you've got to go left. Yeah.
But like Michael Savage thinks that, that debate last night was set up. Not, it was set up, and it was, I think, too.
What debates aren't set up? I like it that they were uncontrolled. I like it that they went after each other. Well, which would you rather watch, the debate last night or the debate that they had in 2012?
I want to know how they're going to fix America, not how they're going to destroy each other. That's what I want to know.
Well, what did Donald Trump say about how to fix America?
He didn't say that.
He ain't got no policy. He's a big door in a big
In
fence.
a minute, you can't save America in the middle.
No, but he had 5 minutes. He had more time than anybody did.
Yeah, but half the time they're all attacking.
All right. Joe, we'll get back to you, darling. Joe.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch the junior varsity debate, but I did hear the political pundits comment on how Carly
Carly.
Yeah, Carly. She did take Donald Trump to task on the issues without ever attacking him personally. And so it's going to be really interesting when she
When
moves
she
up
graduates up to varsity.
to the big boys. And
Well, I'm waiting to see that. I'm going to be, my eyebrows lifted, my ears perked. I think that's going to happen. And I think it was advantageous to Carly to be in junior varsity first, because she got all the press from that event. And now, because if she had been on that so-called varsity squad, she wouldn't have gotten her words out as she did. She would have been like Ben Carson, who was the last one to be, and it wasn't too fair to Ben. And he said some great things, by the way. He did an excellent job. Joan, go ahead.
And I notice how a lot of these political pundits all have their own takes on who won, who didn't won, you know, and
there's an agenda behind every one of the pundits. Every one of the pundits have an agenda about who won, and that's all so, I can't think of the word I want to use, but it's subjective thinking about who won.
It's self-serving.
It's self-serving. Go ahead, darling. Speak loudly so I can hear.
All right, Mark Levin said
Mark Levin said,
that for 2 hours, each candidate had 6 minutes, but the reporters had 10 minutes each. And he said it felt more like the supporting the show and the ratings than for, and he said not for the real people. And a lot of things were set up. Like even years
you know
ago,
what, there hasn't been a debate where that hasn't been the case.
Yeah, it's CNN.
Probably Fox could have had 2 instead of 3. That probably would have been a better format.
They said they're gonna do this one 939 altogether.
Is Fox sponsoring all 9 or? Oh, and by the way, Facebook, Zuckerberg is being sued on some issue of this association Fox News has on the debate. Yeah. Facebook and Fox News partner. Well, you know.
I thought it was terrible last time when they had the debates with Obama.
I'm not so upset.
CNN.
These guys need to be big boys when it comes to hard questions. I'm not so upset that there was some trick questions or connivery by. There was with the Democrats on the last, you know. So you got to survive that. I honestly believe that the Republican established party is going to do whatever it takes to get Jeb Bush nominated. And I think that's what you're seeing with Fox News moving to the left.
Yeah.
Joe?
But, I think a lot of, from the impression last night from the debate, Jeb Bush came off as very lackluster. I don't know if he was a big loser,
No,
but he certainly
was
didn't
no
win.
hits, no runs, no games.
Yeah.
So, and that was his game plan. George?
I'm going to comment on Joe's thing. With him as the heir apparent
Golden boy.
to the Republican nomination, it makes sense for him to walk up,
Keep his hair combed.
keep his hair combed, small little first base hits, nothing more than that.
Yeah.
Because all he can do at that point is hurt himself, Joe.
Yeah. There's this planned strategy there. The party is supposed to do his work for him right now.
I mean, and I watch the thing,
Established.
and one of the most progressive candidates of all, Mike Huckabee, he's very, very progressive, said things that you quoted him tonight when you started. You know, I mean,
He said some good
he
things.
said some good things. But
I wanted to say something about Mike Huckabee, and it came to me, because George, you challenged me on this, and I love it when you do that. That's why I respect this caucus so much. Mike Huckabee grew government in Arkansas. Okay, but I got an analogy on that. You know, Arkansas is not a big state, and they don't have, so any growth in government is going to be huge. In Andy of Mayberry, when they hired Barney, that government grew exponentially, 50%.
And he gave him a bullet.
And he gave him a bullet, and that cost. The thing I'm saying with that analogy is Arkansas wouldn't have had to grow much in order to say how much it grew percentage-wise. And Huckabee, although I'm not endorsing him, I love what he said. I love what he said. I think he has a good, proper perspective. I like fair tax, number one. And what he said was that Social Security we don't need to violate our contract with old people and Social Security, because if we do fair tax, everybody will be contributing to that, even the pimps and the prostitutes. But you know, that's true. It is true, because when they buy food and they buy things, but the established Republican Party and K Street, which does not want fair tax. They do not want a tax where they've got to pay on everything they purchase, because then them stocks that they buy have to be, under fair tax. So they hit Huckabee hard on the pimps and prostitute things, how the government's going to be financed by pimps and prostitutes. Well, let's talk about Washington and the Senate and the legislatures having their Social Security plans and their 401ks, speaking about pimps and prostitutes. Because they will be lobbied with lucre, with corporations who are willing to pay. Even Donald Trump said it, and this is what I like what he said about every one of you. But he didn't buy every one of them. A couple of them said, you didn't buy me yet, I'm waiting for my check. But this is the thing that's going on in that place called Washington, D.C. I heard the other day a little joke, and I'll tell it. The Washington Redskins, bowing to the political correctness pressure of the insensitivity of their name, the Redskins. So they decided that the insensitivity of their name, they would keep the Redskins and drop Washington. Okay. It's a little funny, but it tells a little story, doesn't it? Will we ever be able to rectify what has happened on the Potomac? Roger?
I have a Washington Redskins pennant at home. Maybe it'll be worth something after that.
Yeah, maybe. You know, serious stuff, folks. I often wonder, where do we go from here? 10 or 15 people coming in here, and I know that if I can work through the process and maybe get Carly to drop by. See, folks didn't think I could do it with Herman Cain, and did it twice with him. Because, see, the things that I'm saying here touch a nerve. They touch a nerve. And I think it's a winning situation for Carly. I'm going to present the notion that if she goes, challenges on a constitutional basis, the constitutionalists that violated the intent of the Constitution, that is pay dirt for her. And I ask in my request that I could be at her side when she did it. I don't know. I don't know if that happens or not. George,
The Washtenaw County Republican Party probably passed up the opportunity. We could have gotten her for our Lincoln Day dinner, and that, I don't think that's even going to happen. So,
no, she's coming to Michigan, but it's a state Republican event, and I need to probably look on my phone. I don't know if it's, that's where I knew that she was coming, and she's coming on a Saturday. So hopefully she's staying somewhere in a motel nearby. And Friday night, I dream. Hey, without a dream, nothing happens. And if I could get this accomplished, I think it would be well for Carly Furiana to understand that there's constitutional conservatives out here who meet every Friday night, who understands the value of challenging a constitutional directive that was flawed by Ted Cruz. And it's really bad because it is the Pacific Trade Agreement that they take advice and consent from. Steve? Look up who?
Ben Carson.
Look up Ben Carson. Ben Carson, I'd love to have him. I just don't think I can offer him anything that his people would think valuable to come here. See, that's how you got to look at it. You got to look at it through the eyes of the people that surround him. Ben Carson, when he comes to Michigan, he's going to fill places up, and so will Carly Furiana. She's going to fill places up. But we're on issues, folks. Remember when we went away from having candidates come in, although I'm trying to get Carly in, but the thing I'm trying to do with getting her in is an issue, right? You folks know that I'm on this issue of constitutional advice and consent of a treaty that Ted Cruz violated, the intent of the Founding Fathers. I'm trying to get Carly to come in because what she did is stood up and said, I'm against that trade agreement. But I want her to tell me that she's against it because it took away the advice and consent of the Senate. See, because if the Senate goes through the supermajority, see, you folks probably know, and I'm wasting my time telling you, but I'm going to say in case somebody doesn't understand this. Founding Fathers knew that a treaty affects every single citizen in this country, and it becomes as much law as the supreme law of the land. It becomes law. So they, in their wisdom, determined that it needs to be a supermajority in the Senate. It needs to be 67 votes, 67 senators. And what they knew was, back then there wasn't that many states, but what they knew was that they wouldn't have, one party wouldn't have that kind of control ever. I don't think it's ever been that kind of control. What they knew was that in order to give advice and consent for that treaty, they had to reach across the aisle to other people's representation, to Democrats who, and this is who's getting shafted here, folks. And why am I representing the interests of Democrats? No, I'm representing the interests of the Constitution. That's what I'm representing the interests of. See, here's what I think. The Ted Cruz endorsed fast track authority set it up to where 51 votes that the Republicans can get in the Senate will approve that treaty. Talked to this gal maybe 2 weeks ago who's supposed to, forgive me for not remembering, sometimes it happens, I can't remember her name. She's supposed to be able to break down the facts of a bill and why they did and what they did and how they did it. And so she's the one who sends out the explanations. So I went up to her and I asked her, what about this fast track authority Ted Cruz, the Constitution, was voted for to bring her from 67 down to 51? What about that? And I talked about this a little bit last week. She told me this conservative Republican, so-called conservative, I'm not so sure. She said this. Listen to what she said. Well, the way it was is that 37 people could block it. The way it was the Founding Fathers' intent. It's in Article 6 of the Constitution. It's required to get a supermajority before you affect every citizen in the country. Ted Cruz rendered that down to a simple majority, George.
Well, explain to everybody why. Because the treaty supersedes the Constitution.
It absolutely does, and that's why the founding...
The Constitution, the treaty supersedes it.
See, and look at this. What George says, the treaty supersedes the Constitution, and it does. The Pacific Trade Agreement is going to be something we rue the day when we do read it. That's why I wrote Ted and Nancy's excellent adventure, because Nancy on the health care bill says we got to pass it so we can read it and know what's in it. Well, Ted Cruz is almost doing the same thing. He gave fast track authority for 51 votes to pass it without having read it. Now, he eventually got to read it, and when he read it, guess what he did? He voted against it. But after he had already given fast track authority, he let it come down out of committee. He could have blocked that. That bill would have never seen the light of day. It was an unconstitutional bill to begin with because the Senate cannot, by rule, override the Constitution. They can only, by rule, dictate how things operate in the Senate. The advice and consent clause cannot be changed by a rule in the Senate.
But that hasn't gone before the House yet, has it?
The advice and consent clause doesn't involve the House.
No, I'm talking about the bill.
The bill did go before the House and they passed it. Now it's got to go before the Senate for reconciliation because they put a couple of extra goody goodies in it. And one of them, guess what? Import-export ban. The funding of it. And that's why Ted Cruz, I love him for saying it, said, Mitch McConnell, you lied to me. And he did. And I love Ted Cruz being willing to use the L word. But that's in that agreement, see? That's in the procedural things. When you take the advice and consent of 67 votes out of the process, that's what you leave yourself open for. Mitch McConnell is a traitor to the Constitution. John Boehner, you're complicit to the traitorous acts of the Senate Majority Leader who knew what he was doing, and for the life of me, I cannot figure out why Ted Cruz did what he did. I can't support Ted Cruz until I get an answer.
He hasn't satisfactorily explained.
You tell me what it is.
But there is no.
Tell me what the satisfactory explanation is. You said he has it. Give it to me.
No, I know. I'm saying that he hasn't satisfactorily explained it to you.
No, to nobody. What he does when Theron asked him on the phone, he said, well, I voted against it. Theron said, yes, I'm glad he changed his mind. Wow, that's a man that can actually change his mind and do the right thing. But Theron did not hold him accountable for violating the precepts of Article 6 of advice and consent because it is done. And you can't vote against that now. It is done. 51 votes approved that Pacific Trade Agreement.
But it's not law yet.
It is all but law. It will be law. The Republicans in the Senate want it. The multinational corporations who lobby with lucre, these representatives, that's why I agree with Theron on this, horse, pimps, and thieves. There's a few good ones that we'll make exceptions to. Pat Kobeck is a good one to always mention that he isn't included in that. Kerry Bentivolio wasn't included in that. That's why they booted him out of Washington. They figured out a way to get him out. But the lobby of lucre that surrounds that snake pit in Washington will carry the day and always will carry the day. Carly Fiorina is the only hope that I see that can rejuvenate the oxygen in the grassroots constitutionalists, not necessarily Tea Party, because there's some folks that are constitutionalists who don't associate with the Tea Party, but they just don't know that's who they are. And I don't mind if they don't call themselves Tea Party. But there's a lot of folks who care about the Constitution. You ask anybody, care about the Constitution? Yeah, I care about the Constitution. Well, did you know? That's what our job is. Did you know? Nancy Pelosi didn't care about it. And I've got to put Ted right in there. Ted Cruz didn't care about it. Answer me, Ted. Get this cleared up in my mind. I'm just a drywall guy. I can't really hurt you. But this is a question that you're going to have to answer eventually. And I'm trying to get Carly to give a heads up on that, to make it an issue. There is no more important issue for me in this election. I was going to show this stuff about Pacific Trade. I'm not going to show it.
We can watch it.
If you'd like to watch it, we'll watch it. But we'll call caucus to an end. People want to leave can go. Did you have something to say?
Yeah. Getting back to this cloaking technology.
Mm-hmm.
Did that merely enable us to evade radar, or did it physically?
Freescale Corporation.
Did it physically cause a ship or plane to disappear?
Okay, let me give you what
Well, let me.
Okay, go ahead. Get the question out.
Let me add to that, because as far back as 1943,
Philadelphia experiment.
and there you go, and that was their objective, to achieve invisibility. And also,
Did you? Who's the magician? What was his name? Made the Statue of Liberty disappear.
I've seen him in real life too.
Yeah, Copperfield, David Copperfield. He made that jet plane disappear, and I would almost swear that he made the Statue of Liberty. Well, of course, those didn't disappear. It was perspective. It was something that I don't understand, but it was a good show. Well, what Freescale Corporation has done is developed a microchip, and this microchip is as small. You take a golf ball, and you know those dimples in the golf ball? This microchip will sit down in those dimples and not approach the cover. That's how small it is. Now, because of this technology that they developed, they could use that microchip in a thing called cloaking. Now, cloaking is the interference of radar detection. Does not make it disappear. On everything that the military uses to know what's out there and what's coming, the new technology of radar, it would make it look like it's not there. Remember what I said a few weeks ago, folks, about the military-industrial complex making big sticks and selling them to certain people, but they don't want to make small sticks for the people who are fighting them. They want to make the same size sticks. And if somebody gets an advantage, they get to make the antidote. Because what the military-industrial complex, and Freescale is one of those, when you make a plane invisible, you've got to have the remedy to making that plane invisible for the other side. There is a perpetual sales of the complex that creates this, and it's jobs for America. Think of the compromise that we made. Raytheon, I talk about that. Pays our bills, pays our light bills, pays our retirement. Those are honorable men and women going to a job, working 40 hours a week. But they're making things that the military sells to countries. And I say they're multinational because they don't have American interests at heart other than giving us jobs.